Most people thinks it takes 50,000 plus to build their dream shop, but I built mine for more than half that. And let me show you how I did it. Now, most people watching this are probably just like me. You do anything to have your own shop so you're not stuck working in your driveway anymore. But as we know, shops are really, really expensive. So I spent a very long time trying to figure out how I could build a very good, high quality shop with spending the least amount of money I have to. So I got all my receipts right here from building this building. Let's break it all down. Now, if you have a pretty flat area, this wouldn't be a problem for you, but for me, I did not. I was on a little bit of a hill and I had to cut out quite a bit of dirt. My main goal while doing this was to save as much money as I possibly could by doing as much as I could by myself. And luckily for me, I had some family members that had some machinery that they let me use to be able to dig this out. My dad and one of my brothers were both a huge help in helping me get this all dug out. And after about 2 days of digging, we finally got it pretty squared and pretty leveled. So after moving about 7 or 8 dump truck loads of dirt out of here, we were finally ready for gravel. And the only thing I've spent so far was $120 on fuel. Now, when it came to the gravel, it took 5 separate truckloads to bring enough gravel in here to be able to get this place all leveled. Now, luckily, I still had my brother and my dad to help me, and I still had the machinery. So after about a day and a half of work, we were able to get the gravel in and get it all spreaded out and level. So at this point, with the cost of gravel and a little bit extra fuel, we added another $1,176.56. So after letting the gravel sit for a couple of months so it could help get compacted down by the rain, it was time to buy our wood and our stakes so we could build our frame so we can pour our slab. So when we framed this up, our plan was going to be we were going to pour the slab in 4 separate sections. That way we would have the best chance to not screw something up. And I did try to record as much as I could on my phone while I was doing this, but that wasn't so easy because I was doing everything myself, so it was hard to be getting on my phone and taking pictures and videos. But I was super lucky though, because even though I have no idea how to frame something up and get it all square, luckily my dad does, and he was able to show me how to get it all squared up. That way, when we poured it and set a building on it, it was actually going to fit on there. So with the cost of the lumber and the stakes, that added another $288.46. Now this is where it really started to hurt my wallet, because now it's time to do the concrete. So we started bright and early in the morning, and we had the concrete truck here ready to pour our first section of our slab. The first section honestly went really smoothly. It was nice and early, so it was still cool out. We didn't have to worry about the sun or anything drying the concrete too fast. And we were able to get this section knocked out pretty quickly, and that one turned out really good. I was really happy with it. I have never done concrete work in my life, and I'm just gonna say to anyone that does it for a living, props to you, because that is not easy stuff. And then our second truck showed up about midday, and we were able to get the rest of the third section poured, and with the little bit we did have left over, we poured it in what would be our 4th section. So I was really happy with how our first day went. I think both areas turned out really good, and then we could let both those cure and pull the boards off, and then we could pour our 2nd and 4th areas on our next day of pouring. So on our next day of pouring, I didn't really get to record at all because the truck showed up about midday and it was hot, and we were in a big rush to try to get this 2nd section of the slab down before it dried. Now, it honestly went pretty good, and I really don't have any complaints with this part, but then all the problems came when we tried to pour this last and final section of the slab. That's when everything took a bad turn. We didn't really start pouring till it was already late that night. It was pitch black, and we were really struggling to get it to set up, because it had really started to cool off a lot. There wasn't really much we were going to be able to do, so we had to let that sit for a few hours to hope that it would start setting up so we could actually work with it. And we came back out at 11 o'clock that night, and it had finally set up enough that we were able to do something with it. but being in the dark and only having flashlights, it was a hard thing to do, and we really struggled. And that side probably turned out the worst out of any of the others. Now, this concrete was the first huge expense that I had on doing this 30 by 50 building, and it ran me $6,286.17. And now we're to actually putting up the building. Now, obviously this whole time, thinking that I'm wanting to build as cheap as I can, my whole thought was gonna be, I'm gonna have to stick frame this building myself. But then I found a place that was out of North Carolina that put up the metal buildings, and after running the numbers, it was actually going to be cheaper to have them come out and put up one of these steel structures than I could even buy the materials to build it myself. Now, this is going to be the first time since I started putting up this building that I'm actually going to be paying someone to do something on this, but let me tell you, it was very well worth it. They showed up about 7:15 on the morning they were coming, and they got right to work, and it was honestly pretty mind-blowing to see how fast they could put this thing up. Now, obviously they do this for a living, so they probably put these up all the time, but it was still really impressive to see how quickly they could throw one of these together. Now, I did have to work that day, so I wasn't able to stay here all day and watch them, but I was able to record a little bit when they first got there. And then my wife did send me some pictures throughout the day of how they were going with it. When I got home that evening, I was able to record a little more because they were still working on it. They had finished up all the walls, and they were just to the point where they had to put on the roof and the garage doors. They put up this whole entire building in almost exactly 12 hours. They got there at 7:15 and they left right at about 7:30. I was really impressed with how good and high quality of a building you were actually getting for the money that you were spending. And after taxes, this building cost me $14,437.33. And that will bring us to the grand total of $22,308.52. And I can already hear the comments now, people saying, oh, you don't have any insulation or you don't have any electric up here. Well, you know what? I don't, but for people like me that have never had their own shop, we don't care. We're just glad to have a shop, and that stuff can all come later. But for now, this is everything I could have ever dreamed of. Now that I have this shop though, if I could go back, there would be 3 different things I wouldn't mind to do differently that I kind of regret not doing. And the first one would definitely have to be, I wish I would have been more prepared for doing this concrete. Now, I'm not going to knock it too hard since I've never done concrete before, but I wish I would have prepared a little bit better and kind of knew what I was getting into beforehand, so I would kind of know some of the challenges that might come with doing concrete. I mean, overall, for having this building for what I need it for, it's not a problem. I'm perfectly happy with it. But as particular as I like to be about things, I know if I was to do it a second time, there's things I would do differently so I could get a better final outcome on it. The second thing that I probably regret the most would be the fact that I didn't put a drain in my floor. Now, doing a drain was definitely something I had thought about, but at the time I really didn't think it would be necessary. And I didn't really see me ever needing one too bad, because honestly, it wouldn't have really added any major extra costs. It would have been really simple to do. And then in the future, if I ever wanted to wash a vehicle in here or just overall cleaning things up, I would have a drain. And the last thing that I probably honestly regret the most, and it is definitely the most important thing if you're considering building a building like this, would be actually framing up the slab a little bit different than I did. When I was talking to the company about putting up this building, they asked me if I was going to do a notched lip, and really at the time I didn't understand exactly why they would want that, and I asked if it was necessary, and they said no, it wasn't. But what I figured out is that it would have been really nice if I would have done that. And all it is you have your normal 30 by 50 slab, but when you come off of that, it drops down about 2 inches, and then you go out another 4 inches. And once they put the building up is when I realized why they had asked that, because I ran into some problems. Since all the tubing on this building is only 2 inches thick, when you're putting the bolts into the concrete to hold it down, and you're going in the middle of those bolts, it really puts it very close to the edge of the concrete. And I had 7 different spots where the bolts broke through the concrete, and they had to go and put another piece of tubing and bolted on the inside so that the building could still be properly attached to the floor, but it honestly looks really bad and I genuinely hate it. So if I could go back, I definitely would have done that slab differently so I wouldn't have had this problem. Now, as far as future plans go, I do have a lot of things I would eventually like to do with the shop. And the first one being, I really want to put some epoxy coating on my floors. Epoxy floors look really awesome and they're super easy to take care of and keep clean. And as messy as I can be, I know that will be really handy for me. And the next thing is definitely going to be 100% getting some electricity in here. That one's obviously a no-brainer there, because if I want to do all the cool things I have planned for my builds, I'm going to need some power. Another one that's really high up on my list is going to be putting some type of insulation on the walls and the roof, because I can deal with the heat in the summer, but I do not like to be cold. And the last really big thing that I have planned would be some type of office and a tool/storage room for all my stuff. Now, I don't know how soon I will be doing that, but at some point in this area in here is kind of where I'm wanting to build all that stuff, because I'd like a good place where I can work on editing videos in the same area where I'm working on the vehicles. And if I have a good area to store some of my larger tools, that'll make things just be a whole lot neater out in the shop. So I hope you enjoyed this video. This has been something I've been super excited to do for a long time, and I'm really pumped to finally have a place to work. I don't know exactly what this year is going to have planned for all my projects and stuff, because I spent a lot of money building this and I got to do something to make some money back. So there might be some random videos that you wouldn't typically see from me, but either way, it's going to be vehicle related stuff, and I still think I can make cool videos out of anything I do. But I do have a lot of cool ideas of things I want to build. So if you want to see more of that, hit that subscribe button and follow along for whatever we're going to end up doing with this place. And if you liked the video, hit the like, because I really appreciate it and it always helps out. And thank you for watching, and we'll see you in another video.